So my name is Karelle Bélanger. I'm originally from Canada, but I have been living in Finland for over 10 years now. I started my career in human resources, where I actually got in touch with the whole employee life cycle, and I developed a passion for employee experience and employee advocacy. I also have been working in employer branding on a macro and a micro level for over 3 years. I have been trying to make Finland and the city of Tampere a more attractive place to relocate. I'm also a very avid storyteller and copywriter, and I'm absolutely really thrilled to be here today to share my experience and my knowledge on employee advocacy. It would be very great if you can actually write on the chat, where are you sitting right now? Are you in Finland? Are you in another country? Which city are you sitting, to kind of have a bit of a better picture of who do we have online. But let's dig in. Today we will be talking about employee advocacy. What are the benefits? How is it related to employee experience? And basically give you concrete ideas on how to engage your employees. And obviously we will have a bit of time at the end to answer your questions and hopefully have a bit of a conversation around the topic. But what is employee advocacy? So basically, employee advocacy is when your employees are promoting you as an employer through their own personal network. So it can be anything from sharing companies' content, blog articles, any news industries, all the way to snippet of your internal culture. How is it to work for you as an employer? So something to really understand is that whether it's online or offline, your employees are already talking about you. So with different tools and engagement tactics, you can really take advantage of your employees doing the talking for you. Employee advocacy is actually one of the most effective ways to boost your brand awareness and reputation, but it is also a super unique opportunity to build loyalty inside out. So within your company, with your own employees, but also with your customers. So it basically, in the end, help you drive sales, as well as increase your talent attraction and retention capabilities. So tell me if I'm wrong, but actually in today's market, it is what we're all aiming for, right? So now that I got your attention, let me show you a little bit of numbers. Look at these numbers carefully. So your employees' thought leadership is actually a rocket ship to organically scale up your brand. So we're not talking about paid marketing. It really increases your marketing reach as well as your network. Why is that? Because every time your employees are sharing content on social media, they get 8 times more engagement than through your own company channels. But they also get 10 times more, they get 10 times more reach with their connections. So they have 10 times more connections than your own brand network. So can you imagine the impact if only 1/10 of your employees would be talking about their positive experience working for you? It has a really big impact, and it's a huge amount of people. So how to actually have that kind of impact on people is actually quite simple, because nowadays people trust people. So they really recommend recommendations. They value recommendations from their peers and their family members over all sorts of advertisements. So there was a research actually from Shearford Staffing that says that 47% of millennials say that an employer online reputation matters as much as the job it offers. So it is super important to build your reputation. And it also really increases your attraction and retention capabilities. Attraction is quite easy to see the results, because if your employees are sharing, for example, job posts, open application, they talk externally about their experience. It's really easy, or it's easier to increase the quality of applicants to your open positions. But what is it in terms of retention capabilities? Well, your employees actually that feel trusted to represent your company, they will more likely feel more satisfied with their jobs. And also, it will build loyalty with your people. So it really has an impact on boosting the sense of belonging to your company. So now that we have seen a lot of the benefits and what is employee advocacy, if you can remember one thing from today's session, is that your employees' thought leadership and personal brand is actually not a threat, quite the opposite. It really supports your growth objective. So in the end, if you support your employees to advocate for your company, it is actually supporting your own organization at the same time. But how to do that? Let's have a look. In order for your employees to promote your company, you have to make them want to do so. So you have to engage them with your brand and with your values, culture, mission, vision. And you want to turn them into micro-influencers. And it is actually all about finding the right channels and format for your right people. So some people really like having their hands on culture, community building. Some others would like to be mentors for graduate students. Some others would like to speak at conferences, but other people might like the buzz of social media. So some people also might like writing blogs or creating videos. All in all, regardless of the channels and the format that you will support, they need structure, encouragement, and actually time to become active advocates. And where does it all start? It starts with the way you treat your employees. So we are not going to look at this into too much detail because we have a very limited amount of time, but I really wanted to point out that making your employees a priority is the basis of employee engagement and advocacy. So have you ever heard the expression happy wife, happy life? Well, it's a sign of your organization. The more happy your employees are, the more likely they want to talk about their positive experience to the outside world. So there are basically 4 values that are really important for employees that needs to be fulfilled by their employer to create that sentiment of engagement and sense of belonging. So it is safety, development, social, and economical. So I think it's quite obvious here, the elements that need to be part of. So basically creating a safe environment, whether it's supporting work-life balance or having a flexible hour work arrangement. You also need to create a sense of purpose, a meaningful, and then having growth opportunities, either taking more responsibility or development program, etc. But also having a space where people have transparent and open communication, that they are able to say no or yes, whatever they feel like to their colleagues, and also encourage feedback internally. And economical, obviously, some compensation, benefits, as well as social recognition actually is super important. So once you have those 4 kind of values fulfilled from within, it really increases the engagement of your people. And this is when you have the momentum to take advantage of advocacy. So this is quite generic. So let me give you a very concrete example on how, as a company, you can support those values throughout the talent lifecycle. So it is very important to understand that the talent lifecycle, why we are not calling it an employee lifecycle, it's because it actually starts even before they have entered your company. So you basically want to create touch point during the candidate and the employee journey, and create moments that matters. And those moments are really the things that your employees will be sharing their experience about. So let me give you a couple of examples. So before even people kind of know about your company, to create brand awareness, you want to make people feel that they're missing out. And this is a very good way to utilize your own employees by sharing all the time their positive experiences. Then people are have the feeling, hey, I'm missing something. I really need to work for that company. At the moment that you start attracting candidates, you have to make them feel that they want to join your team and your purpose. That can be done in showing your values in authentic videos, for example, or having people's story on your career website. Once you source them, you have to make them feel that they're special. And this is super important through an amazing candidate communication. Once you have hired them or they are in the hiring process, you have to make them feel that they are worth and that you as an organization and your people are preparing and excited about their arrival. So that can be done with little videos that you send beforehand or screenshots of internal discussion related to the arrival of your new employee. Make them feel special already from the start. During the onboarding, you have to make them feel that they're a great addition to your team, and then also excite them about what's next. A good way to do that can be, for example, having a personal buddy during the onboarding session time. And then you have to nurture your employees. So you have to make them feel that they are heard. And a very good way to do that is to have, for example, different one-on-one on place. It can be monthly or bi-monthly, regardless of the way you decide, your employees need to feel that they are heard. And then you also want to retain them, right? So you have to make them feel that they are celebrated and that they are cared for. And how do you do that? So whether it's the flowers that you send or the birthday song that you sing at the office with your employees, they need to feel that they are cared for. And a very good last, but super important, it's the way you let them go. So there's a lot of layoffs that are going at the moment. And have you seen on socials different type of layoff experiences? So some people are saying that it was a terrible experience, and then they give a bad reputation. And some others, even though they've been laid off, they are talking about a positive experience and that their journey in the company was super amazing, etc. So it really has an impact on your reputation, and you want to make your employees feel that they are welcome to come back or that they want to refer you to their own connections. And why am I talking about this? It's because in this context, these are the moments that your employees will remember. It's basically food for thought and ideas for content that they will be sharing on media. So basically, your whole reputation is based on that. Good. But once you actually have, you know the benefits, and then you have kind of set the ground for employee experience, and that your employees are kind of ready to engage. There are different ways of doing it. So you could easily create an ambassador program, which is actually a very good way to empower your employees to become advocates. But let me give you 2 concrete tactics today that you can start using straight away. I will tell you about dividing and conquering by advocate types and then by voices. Let's get into it. So basically, there are 4 types of advocates internally: accelerators, spontaneous creators, influencers, and thought leaders. So accelerators, they usually don't create contents, but they react to their colleagues' post. Spontaneous creators, they create content when they have something to say. Influencers, Well, they share content and personal stories on different topics. So it can be related to their niche area, but also personal stories. And thought leaders, well, they build the personal brand and then they share their expertise on different topics. So there is a poll going on at the moment. We are super interested in hearing what type of advocates do you believe you are? And then we can quickly have a look at the results. So let's take maybe half a like 30 seconds to let you answer, and then we can see what type of advocates do we have here in the webinar. Okay. Minea, can we have the results? What type of advocates do we have here in the webinar?
Yes, now you should see the results. Can you see it? If you navigate to the polls.
No, actually, can you see?
Yes, so in total we got 12 votes and 5 votes for the accelerator, 5 votes to the spontaneous creator, and 2 votes for the influencers. So accelerators and spontaneous creators got the most of the votes.
Yeah, very good. And this actually kind of confirms also that mostly in our organization, we have accelerators and spontaneous creators advocates. And so what is important for you to understand is that you have a lot of different ways to support and change the type of advocates your people are. So for example, if you want to have your accelerators to be, or your if you want to have your spontaneous creators kind of becoming a little bit more like influencers, you can give different type of trainings on LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever the channel that you decide. You can help them increase their network of connections. And you also can lower the threshold of writing. And if you want to support your influencers, well, you can give different type of trainings on storytelling, make them aware of your ED goals, for example. Thought leaders, you can give trainings on personal branding and give them the opportunity to actually build their thought leadership as well. So basically, people just need support. But this is a very good way for you to understand that there are different types of advocates that you can support in different ways internally. The other tactic is actually to maximizing your impact by dividing the voices. So you have different type of people that is working within your organization. So you have the management, and then you have also specialists, and they have different audiences. And this is something that you can take actually advantage of. So let's have a look at what is the management voice. Well, it's people that usually share about company results, embody the vision, the mission, or the values. They share company expertise. They also build the thought leadership, but they also build authority and credibility. They usually have a network of decision makers and influencers in the industry as well. So here on the right, there's a very good example of a management voice, which is the CEO of Finder Seekers sharing that Finder Seekers got an extra week of holidays as a Christmas gift because nothing is more valuable there than time. So it's basically sharing about the value, but also a little bit about the mission and the way that people have been heard internally. Other great examples that I have found actually on LinkedIn from the management voice. Here we have someone from Huria Solutions sharing company achievement on getting the Great Place to Work certificate. Or Bo News School brand company sharing also their yearly achievements with a hint of internal culture and a personal touch and a bit of humor. Nitro Games is sharing company news about a new release of a new game. So these are great way to actually engage. Have you noticed the number of engagement? It is actually quite high on this kind of content, but also because they have a bit of a wider audience. Something that I want you to notice, so there are companies that, or some people that write in English, in Finnish, or wherever you sit, the language that you want to utilize. The decision is actually yours. So you can follow a strategy. It can be the same as your company language, but it also can be, a personal preference. Or it can be decided in relation to the type of audience that you have. But what is important is that this is your personal channel. So you basically choose what language you want to utilize. If we look at the specialist voices, so usually the things that they should be talking about is companies' news or product or service, their niche insights on their own topic and industry, share about job posting open positions, recaps of company events, and what people are super interested in hearing nowadays, because people trust people, is the day in the life of. So basically a snippet of how is it to work for your company in different time and different events of their personal work life. So here is a very good example of a specialist voice is Minea bringing an industry news and how has it affected her own work. So this is a very excellent way of kind of a crossing work and industry news. Other excellent examples here. So we have Nadia sharing her work experience and learnings, as well as tips on her core area, which is recruitment. Another very good example is someone at Alpha Sense sharing a job post, but with a personal touch. So sharing its own experience, how has it been working for Alpha Sense? And then, whoop, here is a new open position, we are hiring. So this is a very good way to do it. So again, at this time, the language is not an issue, but you basically can take advantage also of utilizing different languages if you wish. Something that we don't really talk about very often, but that humor actually really pays off. So if you notice the number of engagement of those 3 examples, there are actually quite impressive numbers only by utilizing humor. So memes about your niche practice, for example, or funny photos to get the attention of people actually really works. Something else that works well is actually being personal. So here there are 3 examples about going on a maternity leave. How does it actually affect your work? And also work hard, play hard. So going with colleagues and doing activities together. Or then when personal life actually meets your work life. And these are all very personal. And then you get a lot more engagement and reach because you create an emotion with the audience. People really relate to this type of content. Yes, great. So these are the examples of kind of dividing by voices and what helps getting a bit more reach and how to support internally the different people that you have. Now that we know this, how do you actually engage and where do you start internally? Well, once you have, kept your employees happy and that they want to advocate for you, I really suggest that you start by defining what is it that you want to achieve. So we discussed at the beginning about the benefits. So do you want to increase the quality of your applications? Do you want to increase retention, or do you want to increase inbound sales? Whatever is it that you want, it will help you to track the success if you know what you want to achieve. Then second, I really recommend that you create an internal communication channel. So that can be just a Slack channel or a Teams channel where you can actually engage with your advocates on a daily basis if needed, and then share content and create a relationship with them. Then I also really recommend to create a hashtag. So nowadays it can be live at Finder Seekers or live at Alpha Sense, whatever. But you also can be very creative with your hashtag. But that also really helps you track success. So who internally is actually speaking, and it gathers all the posts at the same place. Then I really, really recommend that you educate your people. So I gave you a couple of examples of what type of workshop you could give. But then you also can have, for example, internal videos to help them guide and give them guidelines. It can be a tone of voice, a playbook, or social media best practices. But all in all, what is really important is that you don't want to control the narrative. So you want to give them guidelines, but you don't want to restrict them. So this is a bit the tricky part, right? So basically you want to, it's a bit like your leader. You want to elevate them, you want to support them, but you don't want to restrict them too much. Yeah, so this is the way to basically start. And then we can go on what are the other best practices that you can continue internally before we basically start into hearing your own opinion and own experiences about employee advocacy. Something that is really important, I mentioned about the management and the specialist voice. Preaching by example is a very good way to have snowball effect. So if the management is actually writing a lot, sharing their own experience, then it will have this snowball effect to other people inside the company, and others will want to also share their own. Getting a content curator. So once you have created your channel, having someone to put content ideas. It can be blogs, news industry, events, all the content that people could actually utilize to write a post would really help to lower the threshold of kind of being creative all the time, of creating new ideas. Tracking the progress. So it's also something very important to help you with your ROI. So you can define different type of KPIs to basically track your progress. Celebrating success. So your employees, at the beginning, I also mentioned one of the value is to feel to create the sense of belonging and to have the social aspect. Well, being rewarded is super important, and feeling celebrated. Rewards can be, there are basically two different type of ideas. There are some people that are full on into rewards, and some others that are saying that rewards shouldn't necessarily be the best carrot to get your people involved. And this is a little bit my own idea to it. So you better start working on your employee experience so your people actually feel that they want to talk about it without having any carrots at the end. And something that is super important is seeking feedback. So hearing what is it that your employees, your advocates want to learn? What is it that they want to hear about? And then you can fuel in back with what you hear. Something that is also super, that can be very important is to identify champions. So people internally that are already really good influencers, for example, that you can take into your program, or to show examples to others to preach by example. But all in all, the more you will engage with them, the more they will give back. So we have been through lots of things today, and we are actually kind of right on time, but I wanted to give you a couple of key takeaways. So apart from the first one that I said at the beginning, that your employees' personal brand and thought leadership is actually not a threat, is something that I want you to remember. Then, to lower the threshold. So keep it simple. Preach by example, offer training, and then keep the content coming. Divide and conquer. So you can select different channels, and if divide the subjects is also a tactic that you can utilize. And engage. So support your people, offer structure, reward and celebrate, but also something that we often forget is to give your employees work time to create content. So basically, if you want them to talk about it, these are the basic information that I really recommend to support, to feel that they're cared for, and then see where the magic actually gets you. Great. So this is the official content of the webinar. Now I'm super excited to hear about what do you have to say. Do you have any examples that you would like to share with us, or questions that came to your mind during the webinar?
Here on the chat, Vaida is having one question for Karelle, and it is, what is your opinion about monetary incentives from employer to actively create content on, e.g. on LinkedIn?
Very good question. Actually, I am not so much into it because it should be like a personal motivation, the sense of loyalty and the sense of belonging to your organization should be there for you to actually create content. So something that I would recommend to use as a reward, for example, it can be different swag that you can provide. It can also be for like, you can have internal competition. The person that has made the most post of the month, for example, or you have made a small competition internally that you increase your network by X amount of people by the end of the month, and then you can have a raffle of tickets to go to a show, for example, or something like this. So I would not suggest to have monetary rewards in that sense, but mostly having this kind of small treats here and there. And it can be like a lunch benefits, for example, or internally, what I would suggest is to actually listen to your employees, to what would they like to receive to help you with the advocacy.
Thank you. We have also another question from Christina.
Yes.
And it is how to encourage employees who feel insecure in posting in LinkedIn. Just more trainings, or building the awareness, or something else?
Yeah. Well, I think, if you already have had some LinkedIn trainings, etc., one good way is you could have different type of workshop into kind of how to find your own voice, or how to find content. But I don't know if you remember, I also said that to have a content curator is very, very good. So if you feed your employees with different type of contents that they can utilize, then that really helps. Something also, you can have different type of workshop on kind of finding different tactics of how to lower the threshold of writing. For example, you can have on storytelling, you can have sessions on Well, no, I don't have any other example that comes quickly to mind, but there are very different tactics that you can utilize, and especially one of them is copy with pride. So if you in your internal channel share some great examples of people that are writing internally, then it will give food for thoughts for your employees to also write their own.
Thanks, Karelle. Maybe I'll have a question regarding the KPIs. So what would you say are the three main metrics that you would measure in terms of employee advocacy, so to see how successful it has been?
That's a very good question. And I actually was sure that someone would ask this question, so I already prepared a little something. But the key performance indicators basically for employee advocacy can be the traffic to your career page or people stories, their engagement. So it can be how many, if you want by the end of the month, X number of new advocates, the percentage of people sharing content. It can be the number of engagement rate of those contents. So once you have created those hashtags, it's actually much easier to also follow. But then it can be also attraction. You can see if you have increased the quality of applicants, or do you have a number of referrals? So these are things that I think I would say they are the most important KPIs. Always to keep in mind, though, the employee experience, as I mentioned, it's really the base of employee advocacy and engagement. So what is your workforce stability and workforce satisfaction also can be a very good example of KPI. Do you have any other questions or actually like comments or something to share with everyone here?
Maybe a suggestion to Christina's question earlier regarding how to encourage employees who feel insecure posting on LinkedIn. I was thinking that you could try maybe introducing a sort of a buddy system. So having someone that the person can go to check the post and give an opinion before posting it could be a good way to help them feel reassured that that post that they had initially planned is actually a great one, and kind of giving that extra encouragement for them.
Yeah, this is a very good idea, and this is also one way to utilize your internal channel. So if you want people to, if you say, I'm out of ideas, and then can we have a quick brainstorm session online now? What would you write about, and so on. So you can utilize your group of advocates to help each other out. Very good point, Fong. Excellent. If there's no comment, then I have a question for you all. Do you actually have any like concrete advocacy initiatives within your organization, or is it a bit more scattered? I'm interested in hearing what's the current status of advocacy. You can open your mic and start discussing if you wish.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I want to know, like, internally, what are your stages of advocacy? Do you already have initiatives going on, or is it more scattered?
Well, I can start. Hi, I'm Christina from Metso Autotech. So I would say we are in this sort of children's shoes at the moment when it comes to employee advocacy. So some awareness building, yes, we have been making, but I think there is a huge amount of work to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of companies that are not yet utilizing the full potential of employee advocacy, and I think it's a great way. As mentioned, now people really trust people more than brands nowadays, so it really has an impact.
Yeah, I think it's also about kind of trusting your employees, that they trust, how they can promote the company. So I think that's also this sort of a step needed from the company, that you really empower your employees and trust them to take it forward.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a very good point. It really helps create this loyalty also between your employees and the employer. Thank you for sharing. Excellent.
We have actually one more question on the chat, and that is, do you have any data or estimate on what % of companies are realizing the benefits of employee advocacy?
Are we talking about kind of the ROI of employee advocacy, if companies kind of can see results, or?
What % of companies are realizing the benefits?
Okay,
of
so how many percent of companies?
How many? Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe there's probably 5% of companies that are utilizing employee advocacy. It's quite limited, and especially smaller companies don't necessarily have kind of initiatives to support it, although they can have much of a bigger impact, for example. So it would, it doesn't require to have a full program, as I gave you a couple of tactic ideas now that you can straight away implement. So you can start very on early stage to have it. Now, when we're talking about bigger organization, then I would suggest to go a bit more structured with, for example, kind of employee advocacy type of ambassador program, where it's a bit more structured when you have people from different countries, etc. But it doesn't necessarily require to be fully ready, to start advocacy. You have a lot of people internally that likes working for you, so they should talk about it externally as well. I don't know if this answered the question. Great. Well, I think thank you very much on my behalf and on Finder Seeker's behalf as well. We are really, really happy to be sharing our expertise, and hopefully we will stay in touch in some ways. We can connect already on LinkedIn. We will be sending you the recording as well as a feedback survey, so we would really appreciate if you can take the time to give us feedback as well, so we're able to improve and see if this kind of webinar is appreciated by our audience. So on this note, thank you again, and then I wish you a fantastic day.